Hello and welcome to Youth in Sports, where every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. we feature special guests from near and far. The program is sponsored by ATI Physical Therapy, providing certified athletic trainers to more than 30 area high schools and colleges. First State Orthopedics, the team taking care of Delaware with a commitment to excellence. And Wilmington University, where Youth in Sports is produced by the College of Technology's students and faculty. And now, from the studio at President Jack Barcelona's Wilmington University, your hosts for Youth in Sports, AOSSM Mr. Sports Medicine 2012, Dr. Michael Axe, UD and St. Elizabeth's own Dr. Joseph Strait, and co-founder of Youth in Sports, Mr. Walter Laudein.
Good evening and welcome to Youth in Sports. 22 years, and here we are at beautiful Wilmington University, which is now a university officially, and got a great show tonight. Joe Strait, our other co-host, is in Pittsburgh with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I hope he does some good cheering for them today. Mike?
Yeah, Michael Axe from First State Orthopedics, and we have the United Way on. And why I asked the folks to be on tonight is the myths that people may have had about the United Way. They've had some ups and downs, they've had some national things, and we're going to talk to them about some questions about how is national different than local, where does our money go, what is it, how is it spent, how do they decide, and why should we give to the United Way as opposed to giving to an individual cause? I think you'll enjoy the answers. It's a lot of food for thought, and we're going to have fun with this.
We're going to have fun?
We're going to have fun, yeah.
Well, let's introduce our guests. First, we have John Moore, who's Vice President of Research Development and Strategic Partnerships. Next, Debbie Armstrong, who's Assistant Director of Community Relations. And next to them is Jerry Hunter, who's the Vice President of Operations and the Chief Financial Officer, which is the guy we want to go right after. But before we get to Jerry, let's go to John first. John has a son at Cesar Rodney.
That's right.
Is a senior, John?
He's a senior shooting guard, second team all-conference in Henel Open last year. It was about 16.6, and we're expecting a big year this year. Get a scholarship, and please help me to be able to pay for college.
And you know, John, the fact that you say that is, when you look at what colleges cost today, it's like you might as well, you know, parents get so much money today, they finally get their kid out of the house, but now they got to dip into their savings and their IRAs to pay for college.
Well, hopefully they had planned for that, Walter, that they knew that, you know, the Gerber baby commercial is probably the best one that I've seen. When the family's there and said, my child is 3, I've begun to save. Well, it's important that you begin to save. You can't count on the grandparents dying and leaving you money so that you can pay for your kid to go to school.
And I'm a grandparent now, and don't count on me.
Well, I got that part, and some of us have been thinking about this for a long time. And fortunately, we put enough money aside that even through professional school, and for those of you out there that your parents left you debt-free after your education, you should thank your lucky stars. That's the best Christmas present that keeps on giving that I've ever seen. And for those of you who haven't, I feel for you. And I understand that scholarships are everything. Having been a scholarship athlete myself, my tuition, room, and board was more than my mother netted that year when I was at Bucknell. So I totally understand the importance of having someone give you the opportunity to succeed. Now, if you get the opportunity to succeed, don't waste it. And I'll offer that to absolutely everyone. If you're fortunate enough to earn a scholarship, then take advantage of the opportunity, because a missed opportunity is just that, Walter, a missed opportunity.
Well, talk about keep on giving. We want to talk to Jerry Hunter about giving. And Mike asked the question before, which is a good question.
Before we came on set.
Well, no, when you were on, you asked why should we give to United Way as opposed to giving to an organization that we know about?
Well, we think we know about it.
We think we know
John,
about it.
you didn't have the benefit of having the preamble. You just kind of walked on set because of parking at Wilmington University. For those of you that are guests, we have cones set aside for the guests. They are for you. You just move the cone and pull right in. That's what they're all about. So don't be a cone head. Use the cones.
Guilty as charged.
All right, but get back to you, Jerry. You know, we have that issue, and one of the hard questions tonight that people ask us all the time is why should we give the United Way? And I'm going to pose it just a little differently. Is there anyone out there that matches funding? In other words, you know, I understand if a company says, okay, if my employees give to $5,000, I'll match up to $5,000. How many of those challenges are within organizations that would make you want to earmark your money? Because you get the double dip. Because I can say I wanted to go to the Boys and Girls Clubs, not of Delaware, Greater Newark, Frame. I have to identify which Boys and Girls Club I wanted to go to, okay, just so you know out there. But should I identify that, okay, why would I, if I work for AstraZeneca, I'm going to assume that AstraZeneca or DuPont has a matching, who has matching employee up to stuff out there?
There's several corporations.
Who's the best? Who matches the largest sum of money?
Who?
Burris, 1-for-1.
Burris, 1-for-1.
Burris, 1-for-1.
Debbie would know more of this. She's in campaign.
Well, that's cool. Burris, thank you, Burris people.
Yes, absolutely.
They are here in Newcastle, and they're also right across the line in Elkton, and then down in Harrington and Milford. And they match $1 for $1 for every employee gift.
Do they give you an upper limit, up to?
No.
No upper ceiling?
Well, how many employees do they have?
They are regional. They have approximately 1,700 employees, you know, in their business.
Oh, okay. So that's
Walter, anyone who doesn't give an upper ceiling is a brave soul.
yeah.
It's a brave soul. Okay, so you have Burris as 1-for-1. How about DuPont? How are they?
DuPont's a corporate gift. It's not a match, and they pretty much direct it to United Way and allow us to use it as we see fit.
Okay, so it's undefined.
Correct.
So why don't you define the type of gifts that you get during the campaign? Our goal, John had shared with me, and he wanted you to verify it, that our goal this year is $8.5 million.
18.
I misspoke. 18.5.
Correct.
Okay, million.
From,
And that was
from
what-
the campaign, that's correct.
From the well, is there another?
We have other resources. We actually have, since we've actually started doing strategic initiatives, we now apply for grants through various foundations and have several for our Stand By Me program. Our Stand By Me program, for the most part right now, is funded all through grants.
Why don't you tell the listening audience or the viewing audience what Stand By Me program is?
Stand By Me is basically a financial stability program. Anybody in the state of Delaware can basically access it. It's now currently in several workplaces up and down the state. It's in state of Delaware service centers where people that need the help from a financial perspective, whether it be food stamps, etc., can see a coach. It's one of the only coaching models where we have a financial coach that will actually sit down with the client. They'll talk to them about what their goals are from a financial perspective. Some of it's just getting their credit worked out and corrected. Some of it is, I've got a large loan, might be a payday loan that they're trying to get situated and squared away. Some of it's just a household budget. Some of it's paying off a utility bill that for whatever reason got extended, and we work with Delmarva to help make that happen.
Well, that's probably a good thing since your CFO is.
That's kind of my program.
And your chairman of the board is Delmarva.
Yes.
Okay, so that would make sense.
Right, we're pretty well.
How many people take advantage of it?
Today we have 2,500 clients. The program's about 2 years old. We expect that over the next year to grow it by 2,500 to get to 5,000. That's our target.
How are you giving yourself a report card? The number of participants, or how do you give yourself a success grade?
Our success rate is the client sets the goal, and if they meet their goal, that's a success.
Sure is.
So, and what we look
Sure
at
is.
is we look at every client as being creative, resourceful, and whole. Treat them as like they know what they're doing, and in some cases they know what their problems are better than we do.
Sure.
So we listen, establish the goals, and help them achieve.
Now, the money that you're using the resources for, all the Delaware money stay in Delaware?
In the Stand By Me program, yes.
Okay, how about the rest of the campaign? The $18.5 million is the Delaware goal, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But you have some companies that go through an entire area, like DuPont has many, 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 many sites.
Right.
We know we're the corporate headquarters because of tax reasons for a lot of companies that don't have a plant here but have their home offices here. Mm-hmm. Do we get credit for those companies that have their home? Is it based upon where the home office is?
It's where funds are raised is what we get credit for. So if the funds are raised in Delaware and they stay in Delaware, we get credit under United Way's worldwide standards for
So the
counting that as revenue.
18.5 he's talking about,
Yes.
John's talking about,
Yes.
stays in Delaware.
Yes. for
Because
the
you're
most
raising
part.
it in Delaware.
For the most part, yes.
And who decides who gets the money? Your board,
Well-
or is it national?
It depends. Our campaign's split. It's split between what I'd call United Way funds, where the funds actually are controlled. There are funds we can use we can use them as we see fit. Then there's donor designated. Dr. Axe, you indicated that you give to the Boys and Girls Club. So
No, I actually give through United Way to the Boys and Girls Club,
Right.
but the question was, why is that a good thing for everyone? And what I asked it particularly was, do you get the double dip? In other words, do you get matching funds?
Correct.
In other words, it doesn't matter to my company how I give the money, because we don't match that per se.
Right.
But it does for the companies that match United Way, and yet they still give you the opportunity to designate to the Boys and Girls Club, the club itself. We have well over 40, so which of those 40 clubs do you want your money to go to? And then we go from there. So let's talk about, and as I shared with your staff earlier, well, did you know we get a great viewing audience till 8, and then people turn us off and watch other shows? Did you know that?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So what I want to do is hit the highlights, assuming that they'll watch this on DVD and so forth later.
Well, we're on the internet, so you
Yeah,
can watch it
that's
on the
true.
internet.
You can watch it on the internet. But so myth number one was that the money that we raise in Delaware, that you have to tithe like the Catholic Church does so much to the Vatican. Do you have to give a portion of it to national?
That's part of our $2.3 million budget, so it's part of our operating cost. So there is a fee that we basically have to pay as part of our operating cost.
Okay, so that's
part of
that's a
that
truth, not a
10.5%.
myth then. Okay,
That's the
there is-
truth. We have a member fee that we pay to United Way Worldwide, yes, for using the logo, the advertising that they do nationally that we benefit from. So yeah, there is a fee for that. And we use some resources out of Alexandria periodically for doing some assessments around community impact work and things of that nature.
Not fussing, just want to make it
Understand.
clear out there. The second one, and we're going to go to a break in a minute, that if you have a designated amount that you'll put toward a particular cause, you've vetted it out, you have decided that this organization, as you rate them, is worthy of a proportionment of the monies that you raise. In our next segment, it's going to take a while. I think that's an important thing that everyone would like to hear.
Okay.
How that vetting process is done.
Okay.
Okay, and how I want people to understand how fair it is, because I know that after I heard about it, it certainly was much fairer than I thought it was going to be. The biases aren't quite there as it had been told to me by those people who felt that they didn't quite benefit
Right.
as much from it. But you can't spend that, we have a lot of money, tobacco dollars, that we have spent at least 4 times, so not surprisingly, they're not there to be spent again. We're going to go to a break and come back with United Way right after this.
I will keep dancing on point, even if it hurts.
My arm is killing me. I don't know if I can pitch another ball. But I'll just play through the pain anyway.
I have to do the big stunts. To look better than the other cheerleaders, our tosses are bigger.
My elbow really aches, but I got to eat better.
Don't tell them it hurts. It'll take you out of the game if you do. I have to push harder if I'm going to get a scholarship. I'm feeling dizzy, but I don't want to tell anyone.
Everyone's counting on me. I can't rest now.
Nearly 50% of all sports injuries sustained by middle and high school students are from overuse. Don't play through the pain. See your healthcare provider and follow their instructions for rest and recovery. Take the pledge. Become an advocate for sports safety. Visit stopsportsinjuries.org.
Hi, we're back on Youth and Sports. We're talking the United Way, and I was just talking to John Moore, who's the Vice President of Research Development. Resource Development and Strategic Planning. And John, you were talking about the churches. My question to you, like, I mean, if you give money to the church, which I don't, but if you give money to the church...
Walter doesn't give money to anyone.
No. No.
That's not true, by the way.
Well, yeah, that's not true. It's not,
It's not true. I'm just kidding.
Not in a religious sense.
That's
But if you give money to the church, if I was giving money to the church, I would think the money was going to the church.
It is.
And they, in turn, are giving it to you?
No.
So tell me how that works.
We have 3 key things that we ask people to do: give, advocate, and volunteer.
Okay.
If I can explain this very quickly.
Go ahead.
United Way is not your grandfather's United Way anymore. We used to be a transactional organization where everyone was so focused on fundraising. But what we are now is a relationship. We call it building strategic partnerships as part of my title. And so you say, well, where does the church come in with that? I'll give you an example. One of our key pillars, we have 3 key pillars: education, income, and health. We envision a Delaware where every student enters into school ready to learn. It takes investment, but it also takes relationships to make sure that our kids are doing that. We envision a Delaware where every adolescent is able to make good choices so that they can stay in school, graduate on time, and that leads to a good life.
Right.
We envision a Delaware where every individual and family becomes financially stable, and we envision a Delaware where everyone has access to health care. So you look at that, and you look at the relationships of organizations outside of businesses that can help do that. And one of the great ones is the faith community. You know, there's one area that we have to have absolutely in making a community stronger is trust. And when working, for instance, in the area of education, in order for us to be able to find some of those things that are missing that the schools is not able to find, is that we be able to talk to faith leaders to be able to get their perspective. Because if a parent's not talking to a principal or to a superintendent, they're talking to the pastor. Why not bring the pastor and the superintendent together and have a collective conversation? And that way we're able to find solutions that may be operating in silos you never would. And so that's the work of what we're doing up and down the state. It's when we start talking about the partner agencies, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, it's working collectively against these root problems of what's really hurting Delaware in many ways. So now what we're starting to do is see great solutions come through what we call our community impact work, and that is addressing issues through these programs that Jerry Hunter talked about, like Stand By Me.
Well put, John. My question to you is, as a devil's disciple here, is what about all the religions? Now we're having a problem where, you know, I'm a Buddhist or I'm a this and that. Do you fundamentally go to all the religions?
No, they have a common denominator.
Yeah, but watch this. This is how these partnerships work. I've been appointed by Governor Jack Markell to serve on the Delaware Coalition of Faith-Based Partnerships. And it is a faith-based partnerships.
All right.
And it is a group of non-denominational interfaith organizations. We have Muslim, Jewish, Baptist, Catholic, everyone that you can think.
Okay.
And what it is that regardless of the religion, the human need problem is consistent. And so we're coming together and we're talking about what we can do to get solutions. What does it take? It does take money, but it also takes a common mindset to be able to come up with answers.
I can just see the atheists suing you for a part of that dollar.
Well, the fact of the matter is the atheist needs health care as well.
There you go. There you go. No, that was interesting, John, and well put. Now, Deborah, you work in conjunction with John?
Yes, I'm on John's team at United Way of Delaware in resource development.
And you were talking about the AFL-CIO, the union.
Well, she was part of they had the golf outing that Dr. Straight played in a couple weeks ago.
Dr. Straight plays golf?
Yeah, he'll take your money.
Yeah?
Yeah, he can play.
Okay. So you went to the unions and you try to get groups as a whole to...
Okay. Through the AFL-CIO Community Service Partnership with the United Way of Delaware, traditionally we go to businesses that have union labor and go out and run their workplace campaigns. Tom Callahan is the executive director of the AFL-CIO Community Services, and in that program I work under him. But my other work out of Kent County, I work directly under John Moore. But in short, it's no matter whether it's a union or non-union account, I'm out there for United Way raising dollars for programs that we can invest here in Delaware in the community.
Now, John, you said before Jerry got here, you were talking about $18 million that you want to raise.
18.5.
18.5. Okay. In the last 6 years, the financial situation for just about everybody is just really bang. I read in one of the newspapers that raising money for charity was down a lot. If 18.5 is your goal for this year, what was it in the past years as comparison?
Well,
Has it gone up or down, or
let me give you an example. In 2002, we reached our peak. We were at about $30 million.
There you go.
And
okay.
that was actually during the time when MBNA was active.
Right.
We had a tremendous campaign with them. Well, then things happened beyond the recession. Businesses left Delaware, mergers took place, and so therefore, organizations that were given a tremendous amount to the causes of what we're representing were going away. Then came the recession. And what happened was, the amazing thing that really happened with that is, now the face of the donor changed. Those persons that used to give to United Way now became the person who needed those services.
There you
and
go.
so
Yeah.
immediately a person that would give
Right,
now
right,
has
right.
got their hands out asking for help, which they deservingly should get, because they've been given for years. Now we need to turn around and be able to help those who are losing their homes, who can't pay for health insurance, and so forth. And so, yeah, we've been tremendously impacted by that, but yet still at about $18.5 to $19 million, we're working feverishly with the people who work in our organization to be passionate about still driving people to want to give. Because we can't see organizations that are not capable of doing their own research development close their doors, because they're doing some tremendous work in their communities. So we work very hard.
So let's go one step further. How do you determine the merits of an organization so that you have everything from the Boys and Girls Club, I'm going to keep coming back to because that's my favorite, okay, to Latin American Center,
Yes.
to probably 100 different organizations. So how do they get a scorecard?
Well, we use two things. We look at the quality of work of what they're doing, and we look at the need. So, for instance, you want to be able to help a community, but you want to make sure that it's based on a need. So let's say that you want to help an organization that believes in running clean water, when you're actually in a community that there's nothing wrong with the water. So why would we put focus there? But you're in a community where violence is just escalating, where kids are dropping out of school, where people are not able to get health care. That's a need. And so what we do is we focus on such things as that to see that this is the kind of organization that needs to be supported because they're addressing a root issue. Here comes the second step, quality. So even though they're addressing a need, are they carrying out their mission according to the way that they've told the United Way, that they're asking people to give money towards? And so we make sure that people are doing that. Because I think it goes with Dr. Axe's point. We want to make sure that as people give, it's a tremendous investment. I say myself, we say this at United Way, the giving starts with us. We're not only,
Clients.
Clients, that's that commercial. We're not only clients, we actually believe in the process. So the giving starts with us. We have a tremendous campaign internally. Why? Because we believe that we have invested part in making sure that our communities are safer, stronger, healthier. And so you look at the quality of what people are doing. And if people are not good stewards of their money, the United Way, in a sense, is making sure that people are making their investments that they're receiving be maximized. If not, then that makes us a bad steward.
I'm going to make, no, I want to,
Let me turn what you said, good stewardships of their money.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're talking about a great deal of money, and what do you do with that money? Do you give it out? If you're going to raise $18.5 million,
no, that was my point.
are you going to
Not
give
all the
out
18.5 is ours,
18.5
though.
minus what you cost to?
No, the 18.5 that John's talking about, if you designate, that's money that we can't use to do anything with. I mean, designations, if you designate the Boys and Girls Club, we make a payout to the Boys and Girls
Right
Club
away.
But that still counts toward the 18.5.
Yes, it does.
Right.
Yes, it does.
Okay, I
Absolutely.
wanna
I
make
just
sure
want to
that
make
that
sure that
wasn't-
everybody understands there's the money that we can
let's go through the
influence, and
process.
then designations,
because I think
the
I
donor
have,
just,
I think I have this down. So you correct me if I'm wrong.
okay.
Okay? So, Walter, I decide I'm going to give the United Way $1,000.
Right.
And that $1,000 on my card, I earmark that I want to give it to the Frame Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
Okay? So, at the end of the campaign, and the campaign runs from when to when, John?
It typically runs from,
Now?
let me give it to you. We have a pace setter campaign that starts in July. That's ahead of our normal campaign. The actual campaign starts in September and runs through February,
September,
March.
Labor Day, or September coming right now?
It's the Friday
September now.
after Labor
After
Day is
Labor
the
Day.
official
Okay, so